Hey there, welcome to Sleepy Granny Stories. Close your eyes now and let yourself settle into this moment. Feel the weight of your body against the softness beneath you. Tonight, we're going somewhere peaceful, somewhere safe. We're going to visit a quiet residential block where the streetlights glow amber through the autumn leaves and where a very special dog is learning something he's needed to know for a long, long time. Come with me now and let this story carry you gently into sleep. In a small brick house on Maple Street, there lived a dog named Atlas. He was a German shepherd with a greying muzzle and eyes that had seen many years of careful watching. For most of his life, Atlas had been a guard dog at a warehouse by the docks, where his job was to notice everything, every footstep, every shifting shadow, every unfamiliar sound in the darkness. But those days were behind him now. 2 years ago, the warehouse had closed, and a kind woman named Marion had adopted him. She gave him a soft bed by the window, meals that came at regular times, and a home where nothing dangerous ever happened. Yet Atlas could not stop doing what he had always done. He could not stop guarding. The sun set slowly over Maple Street, painting the sky in shades of coral and lavender. Marion prepared a simple dinner in the kitchen, while Atlas lay in his usual spot by the front window. His ears swiveled at every sound, the neighbour's car door closing 3 houses down, the rustle of a plastic bag caught in a hedge, the distant bark of another dog. His body remained tense, ready, even as Marion scratched behind his ears and told him he was a good boy. Atlas felt the familiar tightness in his shoulders, the alertness that never quite left him. When Marion went upstairs to bed, she kissed the top of his head. He watched her go, then returned his attention to the window. The night shift was beginning, as it always did. Atlas would watch until morning. At 10:30, a car drove slowly down the street. Atlas's head snapped up immediately. His ears pricked forward, his muscles coiled, ready to bark, ready to warn, ready to protect. The car continued past the house. Its red tail lights disappeared around the corner. The street fell silent again. Atlas remained standing for several minutes, waiting for the car to return, waiting for something to happen, but nothing did. The streetlights hummed softly. A moth fluttered against the glass. The world was still. Slowly, uncertainly, Atlas lowered himself back down onto his bed, but he did not relax. He never truly relaxed. Around 11 o'clock, a tabby cat emerged from beneath the parked car across the street. It stretched luxuriously, its spine arching in the glow of the streetlight, then began to groom itself with slow, deliberate attention. Atlas watched the cat with intense focus. In his guarding days, cats had sometimes been intruders, sometimes been nothing. He had learned to assess every creature, every movement, every possibility of threat. The cat finished grooming and walked lazily down the sidewalk, tail held high. It showed no interest in Atlas's house, no interest in Marion sleeping upstairs, no interest in anything except its own mysterious cat business. It disappeared into a garden and did not return. Atlas waited. 5 minutes passed. 10. 15. The cat did not come back. There was nothing to guard against. There never had been. Just after midnight, Atlas heard the distant whistle of a freight train. It was a sound he heard every night, always at the same time, as the midnight express passed through the town 2 miles away. For 2 years, Atlas had noted this sound, catalogued it, remained alert through it. Tonight, something changed. Tonight, instead of tensing at the whistle, Atlas found himself listening differently. The sound was mournful and somehow beautiful, drifting through the quiet darkness. It spoke of distant places and journeys, of movement through the peaceful night. It was not a warning. It was simply a sound, existing in the world, asking nothing of him. The whistle faded into silence. Atlas realized his breathing had slowed. His shoulders had dropped, just slightly. The train had come and gone, as it always did, and he had not needed to guard against it. He never had. A gentle rain began to fall around 1 o'clock in the morning. It started as a whisper against the window, then grew into a steady patter on the roof and the leaves outside. Atlas had always been wary of rain. It masked other sounds. It made the world harder to monitor. It created blind spots in his vigilance. But tonight, in the warm safety of the house, Atlas noticed something different about the rain. It was soothing. Each drop was a tiny percussion, all of them together creating a symphony of white noise that seemed to wrap around the house like a blanket. The rain did not threaten. The rain simply was. Atlas found his eyes growing heavy. This surprised him. He had trained himself never to sleep deeply, never to let his guard down completely. But the rain continued its gentle song, and his body, so tired from years of constant alertness, began to acknowledge its exhaustion. As Atlas drifted in that space between waking and sleeping, a memory surfaced. He was young again, a puppy, before the warehouse, before the training. He remembered being in a sunlit yard, playing with his littermates, tumbling over one another in the grass. He remembered the feeling of complete safety, of having no responsibility except to play and to grow. He remembered what it felt like to be unguarded. That puppy still existed somewhere inside him. That capacity for peace had never truly disappeared. It had only been buried beneath years of duty, beneath the belief that relaxation was irresponsible, that rest was a form of failure. Atlas opened his eyes. The rain continued. The street remained empty and peaceful. Marion slept safely upstairs, as she did every night. Nothing required his protection. Around 2 in the morning, a red fox trotted down the middle of Maple Street. Atlas spotted it immediately. In his guarding days, this would have been a major event requiring loud barking and aggressive posturing. But Atlas only watched. The fox was beautiful, its coat burnished copper in the streetlight, its movements fluid and purposeful. It was simply passing through, as wild things do, on its way to somewhere else. It meant no harm. It was part of the night, part of the world going about its business while humans slept. The fox paused to sniff at a tree, then continued on its way. Within moments, it had vanished into the shadows between houses. Atlas's heart rate had not increased. His breathing had remained steady. He had witnessed the fox without needing to challenge it, without needing to prove anything. For the first time in years, Atlas felt something like peace. As the night deepened toward its darkest hour, Atlas lay very still and asked himself a question he had never considered before. What if safety did not require constant alertness? What if the world could be trusted just a little? What if rest was not a betrayal of his duty, but a form of wisdom? These thoughts felt radical, almost frightening. His entire identity had been built around vigilance. Without it, who was he? But perhaps, Atlas thought, perhaps he could be someone who had served faithfully and earned the right to rest. Perhaps guarding had been his purpose for a season, but it did not need to be his purpose forever. The house around him was solid and warm. Marion slept soundly. The neighborhood dreamed its collective dreams. Everything was all right. Everything had always been all right. Just before dawn, when the sky began to lighten from black to deep blue, a paperboy cycled down the street. His bike chain clicked rhythmically. He tossed a newspaper onto the porch of each house, including Marion's. The paper landed with a soft thump. Atlas heard it, but did not react with alarm. It was just a newspaper, just a boy on a bike, just the ordinary ritual of morning beginning. There were sounds in the world that required attention, and sounds that simply existed. Atlas was learning to tell the difference. The paperboy whistled a tune as he rode away. It was a cheerful sound, innocent and carefree. Atlas listened until it faded, then closed his eyes again. In that moment before dawn, when the world is at its most still, Atlas made a decision. He would stop guarding. Not forever, not completely, but tonight. Just for tonight, he would allow himself to truly rest. He would trust that the house was safe, that Marion was safe, that the world would continue to turn without his constant vigilance. It felt terrifying and wonderful at the same time. He felt the tension drain from his muscles like water. His jaw unclenched, his shoulders dropped completely. His breathing deepened. For the first time since his puppy days, Atlas allowed himself to be fully, completely, unguardedly relaxed. Nothing terrible happened. The house did not collapse. No dangers emerged. Marion continued sleeping peacefully. The world, it turned out, was not waiting for him to let his guard down so it could attack. The world was simply being the world, mostly peaceful, occasionally chaotic, but not requiring his constant intervention. As the first golden rays of sunrise touched the window, Atlas fell into a deep, genuine sleep. His paws twitched as he dreamed of running through open fields, not chasing anything, not protecting anything, just running for the pure joy of movement. In his dream, he was both the puppy he had been and the wise older dog he had become. He slept through the garbage truck rumbling past. He slept through the neighbor starting their car. He slept through children walking to school. His body, given permission at last, claimed the rest it had been denied for so long. Marion came downstairs at 7:30, expecting to find Atlas at his usual post by the window. Instead, she found him deeply asleep, his breathing slow and even, his face peaceful. She smiled and decided not to wake him. He had spent so many years on duty. He had earned this rest. She prepared breakfast quietly, glancing over at him occasionally. Once she had worried about his constant alertness, his inability to relax. But perhaps, she thought, perhaps he was finally learning that he was allowed to just be a dog, just be Atlas, safe, loved, and free from the burden of protecting a world that did not need his protection. When Atlas finally woke, the morning was bright and fully arrived. For a moment he felt disoriented, uncertain. He had slept so deeply. Had he failed in his duty? Had something gone wrong? But Marion was humming in the kitchen, making tea. The house was warm and filled with the smell of toast. Through the window he could see neighbors walking their own dogs, people heading to work, children playing. Life was unfolding normally, safely, without his vigilance. Atlas stood and stretched, a long, luxurious stretch that seemed to reach through his entire body. He felt different, lighter. The tightness that had lived in his chest for years had loosened. He was still Atlas, still capable of protecting if needed, but no longer imprisoned by the belief that he must always, always be on guard. Marion noticed the change in him immediately. She knelt beside him and held his face gently in her hands. Atlas looked at her with eyes that were calmer, clearer. He leaned into her touch, allowing himself to receive her affection fully, without dividing his attention between her and the window. From that night forward, Atlas still slept by the window. Old habits are not easily abandoned, and this spot had become his place. But now he slept, truly slept. He learned to trust the world to continue without his constant supervision. He learned that safety could exist alongside rest, that vigilance could be set down like a heavy pack at the end of a long journey. He had been a guard dog, faithful and true, but now he was simply Atlas, a dog who had learned that the greatest courage sometimes lies not in staying alert, but in allowing yourself to finally, completely, peacefully rest. And so on Maple Street, in a small brick house, an old dog sleeps peacefully through the night. The world continues its turning. Dangers come and go, as they always have, but they are not his to manage. His duty is complete. His service has ended. His reward is rest. And rest, he has discovered, is sweeter than he ever imagined. Outside, the street lights glow. The night creatures make their rounds. The stars wheel overhead. And inside, Atlas dreams of open fields and trusts that morning will come safely, as it always does, whether he watches for it or not. And now, dear listener, let Atlas's lesson be yours. You have been vigilant, You have been watchful. You have carried the weight of constant alertness for so long. But tonight, just for tonight, you can set it down. The world will continue without your watchfulness. You are safe. You are allowed to rest. Close your eyes now and let sleep come gently, peacefully, knowing that morning will arrive whether you guard against the night or not. You have earned this rest. You are allowed this peace. Good night.